have it, and welcome to today's wonderful Wisdom Circle. My name is Sophia from Sacred You, and we have the absolute real honor and the pleasure of presenting these Wisdom Circles, hosting them, especially today's, which is being you. Today's wonderful, and I better stop that because we've got feedback. Being you, living life authentically. And again, I'd just like to truly honor all these amazing women who have come from all over the world, and especially the beautiful Jennylee Taylor, who is facilitating today's Wisdom Circle. So Jennylee, again, thank you. I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce everyone else and to lead a wonderful discussion that I'm really excited to be able to sit in the background and listen to, and I will be back at the end. So thank you.
Thanks, Sophia, and thank you to Sacred View for facilitating these beautiful discussions. My name is Jennylee Taylor. I'm a breathwork practitioner and trainer on the east coast of Australia, in just about 2 hours north of Sydney. And this topic is really, really dear to my heart. It's the basis of most of my personal journey, and also I now facilitate others to come back to really be themselves. You know, I get a lot of people sort of flop down in front of me and go, oh, I just wish I could be me in all circumstances. So there's this real, people are walking around living life not authentically. So today we're going to have a great discussion about being you and living life authentically. And we have some beautiful, really powerful, fantastic, wise women in the room today. And I'm going to ask them to just introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from, what you work with, what being you means to you. Sharon, would you like to go first?
Yes, thank you, Jennylee, for having me. My name is Sharon Vidano. I am a retired criminal defense attorney here in the United States, turned transformational life coach. I actually help professional women reach and transform so that they can have fulfilling careers as well as relationships in their lives. And my specialty is helping them meet the man of their dreams, especially navigating the jungle of online dating. So that can be quite an adventure. My journey really just started when I had all of my own trials and tribulations in life. And I felt that I love the topic about how to basically be you versus doing you. I felt that I did me practically my whole life up until about maybe 10 years ago, when I really started to live my authentic self. And I was following all the shoulds in life, feeling like I was doing things because I should be doing things, or following certain paths because I should be doing those. And it wasn't until I really listen to all of those signs that were saying, no, that's not really you. And your intuition and your body physically will tell you when you're not living authentically. And when I finally listened, I started to transform. And now I'm living the best life, and am married to the most amazing man as well. So I would love to, love this conversation, see where it goes, and would love to support anyone else in being themselves, their authentic self. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sharon. That's amazing. I'm glad that you are living with the love of your life now, considering you're helping others do the same. That's great. Leisa, the lovely Leisa, would you like to come in?
Oh, thank you, Jennylee. Yeah, I'm Leisa Reid, founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now and the CEO of the International Speaker Network. I'm coming at you live from Orange County, California. And I work with heart-centered, purpose-driven entrepreneurs and business owners who want to use public speaking as a way to attract their ideal clients and grow their business. For those of us who have a message to share, public speaking is like the drug-free drug. It's really a fun way to market and have sales in your business without feeling like you're doing a soul-sucking activity. So I really like to help people get clarity on that and figure out how they can get booked for the rest of their career. In terms of the doing versus being, I can really relate to that topic. And I am a doer, for sure. I would say and I'm really excited too, like what Sharon said about where the conversation's going to go, because my first thought was probably prompted by Sharon's share. When I ended a 10-year marriage, I realized that I had slowly but surely turned into someone that wasn't true to myself. Not, we can play the blame game, but I did it to myself. It wasn't like he said, "Oh, don't be you." I just gradually shifted into wife and mom roles and doing what I thought would make everyone happy. And then when that didn't turn out so well, I realized, this is an opportunity to really find out what are some blind spots that I had when it comes to relationships. What blind spots do I have when it comes to, what I really want? And I remember I was working with a coach and she said to me, "Okay, Leisa, I need you to create a list of your wants and needs." And I thought, "I don't understand the assignment. Like, what do you mean?" And she's like, "Just make a list of your wants and your needs." I'm like, I don't get it. Like, what? I'm coming up blank. I could not at that moment in time even consider one thing that I wanted or needed. But I did persevere. I did come up with a list, and it is true now. My wants and needs are very similar to that list that I created back then, and I got really dedicated to being truer to what this body, what this system, Leisa, um, who she truly is.
Yeah, beautiful. It's when you're in a stuck moment when you can't think of anything, and you don't even have a concept of what they might be. Yeah, thank you, Leisa. And I can imagine that in the role of a speaker, that being you is really important. Otherwise, you just come across as not
fake or synthetic, right? Yeah, and people can feel that. People
Yeah.
can feel that.
Yeah, thank you, Leisa. Denise, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, Denise here. And yeah, I I don't really have a name for my business, but as we were talking and for who I represent, but it's really because my email has got true life in it. So it's living your true life. And I help people and support people to live their true life and to self-heal on every level. And I love doing myself out of their service by giving them all my tools to live that and carry that on with the next generations and the next generations. And I do that with herbs, and I work on all the bodies like Jennylee does, with herbs, crystals, oils, and just on an emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, because it is a whole. We are a whole, and that's what I love doing. And for me, when you talk about doing and being myself, I've done a lot of doing, and in the sense, I think I did most of my growing up life as doing, just following. This is what the pattern of the world wants us to do. So that's what I did, got married young, had children young, separated when young, divorced, and I did get into another relationship, and I've lived that relationship since, and it's been beautiful. But having to find and doing me inside of that with children and everything has been such a journey, because you have to, in a sense, it's not separate yourself from everybody, but come to yourself first instead of being for everybody else. That was the being for me, is finding myself, being what I wanted to be in whatever the surrounding I was in. Instead of me becoming part of a surrounding, it's me being me in the surrounding that I wanted. Does that make sense? Yeah, that does. Yes. So it was like,
Absolutely. You're getting lost in the trees.
yeah, I always say, I can't see the tree for the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like it's seeing yourself amongst, yeah, and coming to that place. So doing was most of my life, because that's the way, a lot of us think we have to be. And that's the way I thought I had to be. I'm ticking all the boxes. ticking all the rights and not doing the wrong according to what the outside is telling me. So it was actually being was coming back to me.
Beautiful. Thanks, Denise. Your work sounds delicious and very supporting and nurturing. Yeah, thank you. Catherine, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself, Catherine?
Sure. I'm Catherine Andrews. My business is called Master Your Life Purpose. And so I've created books and programs, taking people through a method to understand their life purpose and everything about themselves. And then there's also a series on relationships with that same focus, trying to understand the purpose of your relationships. And I use different tools. I'm an astrologist, numerologist, iris analysis methods, 6 different paths that I use. So I have definitely been a doer as opposed to the being. That's been heavier on me. I love creating. I love teaching. I love being with people and helping them transform. So it's not always a negative, I think, to do a lot, because that's when I feel most alive, is when I'm creating something. However, I think I guess one of the things that's probably gotten in the way from me of being my true self has been the people pleasing tendencies. Really big. And I didn't really realize how big that was until I got divorced 2 years ago and realized that was kind of part in my shadow self about trying to be and do everything. And when it finally hit me that I was like, wait, this isn't fair. I'm doing way too much, and I didn't realize I was doing it to try to please in the relationship. So anyway, that's definitely been what keeps me from in my being, my true self, I think. So I've been working on that, and it still comes back, and it's still there. But I have a lot more awareness about it. So
Great. Thanks, Catherine. Then there's some common themes coming out, I think. So, excuse me, you said you were going to be coughing, Leisa. Well, it's actually me. Yeah. So this concept, the difference between doing and being, and someone picked up, I think it was you, Catherine, that said that the doing is not necessarily a bad thing. And you're right, because we all, the universe wants to give to us, so we actually have to put something in action to in order for that to happen. If you like, God or the greater being helps those who help themselves, and that's the putting the steps in place so you actually get where you want to be. But the difference between getting stuck in the overdoing and that constant rat race, I guess, in terms of doing. So what do you think the difference between doing and being is? How does it actually show up? What does someone who's in that, who's not being authentic, how do they turn up in life? Would anyone like to chime in on that? Yeah, Denise?
Yeah, I would love to. I think doing is, well, I'm going to start with being. Being is in flow. Being is it just comes naturally because it feels good. It doesn't creak, it doesn't dump, it doesn't feel heavy, it just feels so natural. It lights, like being creative lights you up because it's the natural side of you. That's a natural being part of you. And for me, the natural part of me is I love sharing how people can see themselves and see their own emotions, and how their emotions are making them do the things that they don't want to do, and actually help them see what their emotions can be so they can start being themselves. And yeah, I think that there's it's a break in the sense of, is that something that I'm doing for me, or I'm doing for something else, or that's what I've been taught, or that's, because there's, like you said at the beginning, there's so many layers to it that it's about unpacking that. But for me, being is a natural I ease into it. I get up and I just flow into it. There's no feedback in the sense of that it's uncomfortable. The uncomfortableness is the feedback that I'm not being my authentic self. I'm not flowing in my day. So, and everything, the doing is our feedback. The doing is that when I'm doing something, it gives me a feedback to say, do I want this or don't I want this? Because that's what the universe gives us. Everything we do, there's a feedback for everything.
Yeah. And it's that difference between when you're in that state of flow, everything feels easy. There's no pushing. You don't feel like you're tired. It's actually invigorating. Versus especially doing something that you don't particularly want to do or doesn't align with your values. There's this real push. I've got to push through it. And the energy of pushing and different to the energy of being in flow. It takes a lot less out of you being in the being, doesn't it?
Yeah, and your body really plays into that as well, because if you're not listening, then another side of you will take on that and show you by, you know, where it's starting to creak or it's starting to hurt or
that's right. Pains in the chest, funny feelings in the stomach, legs and pains, that kind of thing. Leisa, I have a question for you about what do you see it with people who are in the speaking world, how their talks come across when they're just in the flow of who they are rather than pushing out a subject that maybe they're not in alignment with or something like that? Do you have a
Yeah, it's for me very obvious when someone isn't really emotionally attached to their words. And I've seen people, especially virtually, read their talk, but it doesn't look like they're reading, but I can tell that they're reading. There's a certain intonation, and people can subconsciously pick up on that. It sounds too perfect, right? All the words are nice. It's effective, but there's just a little like gauze in between the speaker and the audience that leaves them disconnected, and it's very subtle. And often I'll get a question about how do I memorize my talk or how do I prepare for my talk or things like that. And I will say it's not about memorizing, it's about embodying. And when we start with a message that really comes from your soul and like this is your imprint, this is your perspective, this is your, you know, your gift you're giving to the world, it's inarguable, right? It's like this is a beautiful gift you're giving, but when we chat GPT it or kind of make it too synthetic-y, it's empty. And so we want to start with something that's really like you. And when I help people with their talk, I call myself a talk doula because I'm like, we're literally giving birth to this brilliance that you are delivering. You know, it's a beautiful, organic, natural process, right? We're not making fake babies. And so then when you give birth to that baby, you look at it in the eye and you're like, I love this so much. Like, I can't wait to share it with the world. So that's what we're going for. And then, yes, we need to do some things. We need to prepare. We need to practice so that we can be 100% with the audience. Because if we're worried about the talk and doing it perfect and remembering it and all that stuff, then we're getting more into our own, we're worrying about ourselves versus being there for them. And it's a balance. Like it's not, people say like, how many times do I need to practice? I'm like, it's like, how many licks do you need to get to the Tootsie Pop? I don't know, like 100, 3, 7, somewhere in between. But you also get better as you do it. You know, it's not just like, you still have to go out there and just do it, even if you're not ready. Go for it and build the beingness, build the embodiment in by doing it over and over again.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's a really important aspect. When you embody what you're doing, you actually step into a state of being, doesn't it? Don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you have to get there somehow. You can't just like wake up and go like, I've embodied all my messages into my, I'm like, well, you still have to, you know.
Yeah, do the practice. Yeah.
The work. Yeah.
Sharon, what do you think? I'm hearing that, you know, there's this concept that we have to present ourselves. Some people have to present themselves as being perfectionists in the world. And, you know, why do we think that we have to polish ourselves for everyone else rather than just be ourselves?
Well, I think, well, number one, perfection is an illusion, and it really is. It's really just a judgment on yourself, and you're looking at yourself through what you believe to be other people's eyes, and giving yourself a score. And it really is not about that. But that's the human side of us. I perfectly and absolutely believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And when we're in this human experience, we take in what other people tell us. So we take in and we almost consent, and we almost use it as commands to our soul that this is how I'm supposed to be. This is how I'm supposed to act. This is how I'm supposed to be, super skinny. I'm supposed to be this. I'm supposed to be that. It's all the shoulds or supposed to be's. But when you really look around, there is no one that's perfect. It's all an illusion. It's all the beliefs and the habits that we believe other people are telling us to be. So when you start to understand that perfectionism is an illusion, then you really start to lean into, and I like to support, women and people, and just say, you are perfect just the way you are. Perfect in a sense of, as in, you're abundant. There, you have so much beauty and truth in yourself that you don't need to listen to all the beliefs that everybody is telling you. And going back to the doing versus being, and going back to what Denise had said earlier, am I doing what I want to be doing? Is it what I want, or is it because someone's telling me this is what I should be doing? And I like to really feel that when we listen, and I say that still small voice in ourselves, when we really listen to what we would love, and you ask yourself, what would I love in my life? What would I love to be? What would I love to be doing? When you get that answer, I truly believe it's a divine answer, that it's inspired by the spirit that breathes us, and therefore that in and of itself is beautiful and abundant. So when you lean into that beauty and abundance, then that really is leaning into truly being your authentic self. So that's when you can listen to that voice. And so when you're being that version of yourself, of that divine inspiration of what you would love, that is being that version of yourself that's truly authentic, versus doing what other people are telling you to be doing. So I hope I answered that. That was kind of long and about. So
it's perfect. It's actually brought up a lot of questions. And one of the key things I think you said was this point about listening to ourselves, how, actually taking the time to, I can't remember whether it was you or Leisa who said, when I got asked the question, what would I love to be doing, or what are my wants or needs, I couldn't think of anything. Wow, that's just a really practical example of how much we just forget about ourselves. I'm sure men do it too, but particularly for women taking on the roles of mothers, carers, all those sorts of things, we actually forget about who we are and what we want, and taking time to stop and listen to that, and also listen to your intuition. I don't know how many times in the past, I don't do it as much now, where I've just known I had, this feeling that this isn't for me, and I just go and do it anyway because someone else wants me to do it, and then it just all goes pear-shaped. So, Catherine, did you have anything you wanted to add or expand on in that?
Yeah, I think that whole idea of am I doing this because I should or because I want to? It's really interesting. Well, because I work a lot with astrology, so I have a lot of earth in my chart. And when I work with people with a lot of earth signs, they're very much into the should, got to take care of the physical things. And water signs could care less about the should. It's just, well, what do I feel like doing? So it's sometimes an inner battle, between that. Obviously, we have to take care of our day-to-day stuff. But that's where I think working from inspiration versus force is totally different. for the majority of our tasks. So that's what I try to do is like, oh, am I inspired to, to do this? So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it's a real piece around this shoulds and doing, and I'm laughing because I'm a water sign.
Oh,
Leisa apparently is surrounded by water signs and she loves it. I'm surrounded by Virgos and I love that.
oh, I'm Virgo.
Yeah, so so intrinsically, I think it's actually a poignant point because I was a very out of sorts water sign. My natural way of being is to kind of go with the flow and all that sort of stuff. Yet I chose a career. I was in a planning position, planning very detailed ship builds, big ship builds for the Navy. So I had to be very very, very detailed. And I think that whilst I love the work, it ended up with me not being in my own flow and not being able to really be myself because outside of that I'm kind of like, yeah, we'll just go with the flow, and my life was very unorganized. So and I chose a career doing that. Why did I do that? But anyway, so this concept of if we could cross out, if we could make a list of all the things we should do every day, and this might be something that people could do, is make a list of everything that we should do every day, and then cross that out and put the word could. Because what I know about shoulds and coulds is shoulds don't give us a choice. They're like we should do that. They invoke I don't have a choice. I feel guilty if I don't. All these emotions come up around should. Whereas if you cross it out and do could, you actually you can choose to go, oh, I could go out and mow the lawn, but I'm actually choosing not to today. So it gives yourself some more power around making the choice, the changing shoulds for could to coulds. And something someone said earlier in the piece was this idea of slowly but surely turning into something else. Was it you, Sharon, or Leisa, who said that? I can't remember. But there's this, it reminded me of that proverbial frog in the hot water. You put a frog into, I love frogs, by the way, put a frog into cold water, but then start turning the heat up. We and then eventually it boils to death. Well, that's what happens to us over time, is that we end up in scenarios where just the heat gets turned up a little bit, or the light gets turned down a little bit from the being to the doing. And all of a sudden we get to a point in our lives where we go, how did I get here? Does anyone want to expand on that and why that happens and how we can get signs earlier, do you think? Yeah, Leisa?
I used to joke about like we're waiting for a letter to come in the mail. Like there's no letter coming in the mail to say, like, especially as a mom, your baby is reliant on you. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's potentially excuse me, another parent, but the baby cannot live without, food and stuff like that. So we habitually put our needs to the side for for the human race. Like it's literally like we would collapse if all the babies died, right? We can't have that. So then we get hardwired into like giving up what we want or our own needs because we're putting it in front of another person. I'm not saying this is all moms, but just kind of generally, anthropologically speaking, right? But then there's no letter in the mail that comes to say you're done. Like you can focus on yourself now. Like you've done the work. And now the habit is just, it starts to get, concrete. And that's when we get blind. And I can really relate to this in giving up myself, not 100%, but, from before I was a mom to after being a mom. And I know it can happen to people who aren't moms as well. It's a common thing for women. So I think when we initially started talking, I thought the difference, it sounds like, is intentionality, whether it's should or could or, doing, being. It's like, well, intention comes into play when you're like, this is who I'm going to be now. This is, whether it's now, today, now, tomorrow, now, and we're always choosing But in order to choose, you have to have intention and awareness around it. Otherwise, we're just doing things habitually. And it's okay to have habits, but are our habits helping us or hurting us? Again, we've come back to intentionality. Like, what is
Yeah.
it that I really want to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks. That's yeah, living with intention. We'll just expand on that in a minute. Denise, did you want to say?
Yeah, I'd love to add to that because we think, and it's just dropped in for me, is that we think we have to give ourselves up when we have our children, when we bring our children up, where at the end of the day, we've chosen to have children. So are we really giving ourselves away at that time, or are we choosing to do this part of our life? You know, I think we've got to consider that we need to change the narrative around that. You know, I've given myself away because I've had children. I've lost myself. But am I, you know, is it another way of thinking is that, am I losing myself in this part of my journey because this is what I wanted to bring into the world? And am I living this part of my journey with my children because I want to bring children into the world to live their true life, to live their being? And for me, if I'm being myself in every part of my life, then they get to be that themselves. And the thing is we've learned not to do that. We think this is a part that we've got to totally give ourselves away to being a parent, where and that's been the narrative, instead of the narrative being, well, this is what I'm choosing, because we choose to be parents. Most of us choose to be a mum or a dad and want to have children. So we're choosing that part. So I'm putting parts of myself in this. Doesn't mean I have to lose it. And I think we have to show next generations that we can be parents, but not be ourselves as well. That we
Yeah.
can be our being of who we truly are, authentic selves during parenthood, during bringing our children up as they go into teenagers, because then if we're showing them that, then they can be that themselves.
Mm.
You know,
it's a great point, because it means we don't get to compartmentalize our lives in terms of being ourselves. How do we be ourselves in the doing of being a mother or a father or whatever? You know, and we can apply that principle to anything. How do we be ourselves in the doing of having our career? How do we be ourselves in the doing of, you know, being a carer? It's not
if
about.
we're allowing ourselves, if we're allowing ourselves to being ourselves, then, like you said, the shoulds and coulds, we could be doing exactly what we want to be doing instead of what we should be doing. So, and, you know, parenting would be so different for me because I'm not leaning on the expectations of everything outside of myself. I'm actually bringing my children up or doing my job or having a career the way I want to. Like Sharon giving up her high ticket job because that wasn't who she was.
Yeah, amazing. And then even if it was who you wanted to be, or where you wanted to be, being able to be yourself in that environment anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the key. And that, if you know, for me, being in a state of being is being really centered in yourself, knowing yourself inside and out emotionally, how you react to the world, and to be able to almost walk a path of peace while everything else is potentially going pear-shaped around you.
Not being affected by it.
Not being affected by it, and living by your values, and living true to yourself, making choices true to yourself. And you could be doing that in any scenario. It's very hard to describe the state of being. I've actually got a few notes here, but Catherine, would you like to add anything?
You know, I was going to tell everybody I recently read a book that I had been wanting to read for a long time called Dying to Be Me by Anita Moorjani. She had like stage 4 cancer and was almost dead, had a near-death experience. And what she learned, then she healed herself like when she came back from her near-death experience. And the big thing that she discovered was that she was never herself. She was always trying to people please her whole life. She was not being her authentic self, and that was what caused her to become ill. And so, it was like, wow, it could literally so much affect you physically when you're not being your authentic self and you're trying to please everybody. So anyway, it's just a great perspective on what we're talking about. It's an easy read. So that, really opened my eyes to how serious people pleasing can be to the,
Can you put the name of the book in the chat? That'd be great. And
just
on that pleasing, what is it that keeps people in the people pleasing mode? What is it that because I do a lot of deep work with people to get underneath these patterns and belief systems, and I'm interested to know what other people come across in terms of what is it that keeps us in that pattern of people pleasing in the first place. Any insights into that?
Well, I mean, I think it touches on, codependency, low self-esteem. So you don't feel good about yourself unless, people like you, a fear of conflict. What would people think if I really said what I was thinking? And so if that fear of conflict, it all ties back into that self-esteem. If you have low self-esteem and then people don't like you, that's just going to increase your low self-esteem. So it's kind of like a circular pattern with those. And I mean, I believe in multiple lives. So I think that we just, each lifetime we build up these neural pathways, these same thoughts. And then, like we were saying earlier, we create circumstances to validate what we think about ourselves. And so if we think, well, there's something wrong with me, people don't like me, and I have to try really hard, we're just going to keep continuing those thoughts, that neural pathway. And, the first step is awareness to changing it. And then the next step is, well, what is the fear? So what if somebody doesn't like you? As long as you love yourself, who cares who doesn't like you? You can be free of that. So that's my thoughts on it.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just muting myself because there's a bit of background noise here. Sharon, thank you. And this, for me, all those things you described come down to, at times can come down to what we call in this work, the personal lie or the personal law. It's that one thought that we have about ourselves that undermines everything else. It could be, I'm unworthy, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I don't deserve, all those sorts of things that keep the script that runs underneath, that keeps us attracting in or bringing in those circumstances that are going to validate that. Which lead to the people pleasing and then not really living authentically. Yeah, thank you. Sharon, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to add that, yes, it goes back to what Catherine said. It really is a self-worthiness concept. If you don't feel that you're worthy, then yes, it's all about the people pleasing. It's about making sure that you're not rocking the boat. Everybody is good. There is no conflict and you're in your comfort zone. So when you're in your comfort zone, that's where all those stories that you tell yourself. So I have to keep everything this way or that way, or all these should, so that there is no conflict. There's no, rocking the boat or anything. So it's really staying within your comfort zone. And and it's kind of like what goes back to your question, Jennylee, about how do you end up there? How do you stay there? It's like when you want to stay in your comfort zone, even though you're not happy, you're very, very easily will stay in your comfort zone because it's easier to stay there, even though you're unhappy. And it's not until I like to say, and I had mentioned this before, that when I like to say that I would love to learn to listen to my intuition, and like Gay Hendricks says, when you learn by the touch of a feather. So when you start to listen to when there's a touch of a feather, oh, there's something here that's not making me happy, that's not aligned with me. Okay, let me shine the light of awareness on that. And then what is that about me? What is that that's triggering me? And then dive deep into that and really reflect in that. And then maybe you can shift and make a move. Because if it's not the touch of a feather, then it's going to be a shove or a shovel or a ton of bricks. Because and it took me a ton of bricks in my journey, but by the time, if you don't listen to that intuition, your circumstances are going to grow and grow and grow to the point where it becomes a ton of bricks, where it will make you listen at that point. And it could be something that will rock your world, where you're like, you know what, I'm done with this relationship and I want out. Or it could be a health condition that's really rocking you and saying, you know what, now I've got your attention. So it's really learning to listen to that touch of the feather, learning to listen to that still small voice within yourself, and then just getting curious. Oh, why is it saying that? Even though it's uncomfortable to think in those terms, that's a way that you can actually grow and be more aligned with yourself. So
yeah, that touch of a feather is really important. And you said it took a ton of bricks. It took me a ton of bricks to wake up. And I'm just sitting here thinking, why did that happen? And for me, it was really like, because I didn't leave space in my life to sit and listen, to really have an awareness of when those touches of the feathers come. I mean, when you sit in hindsight, you can look back and go, why didn't I wake up then, But we don't have the benefit of hindsight. And we have the benefit of hindsight now, but this is more about helping people and women to wake up and get that sense of awareness earlier in life, so you actually don't have to, wait till you get the ton of bricks and you're sort of underneath there, you're all squashed and broken and whatever. So what are some of the practices? I'd be interested in some of the practices that you women have personally that support you to continue to live your life authentically and, in the being you.
Actually was going to add something to the other question. Is that okay, Jennylee?
Yeah.
Because three important pieces came up for me. One is the concept of self-worth or confidence or self-esteem. I think sometimes we can easily throw that out there as a blanket description, but we all have moments of lack of self-worth or lack of confidence. Like we could be a completely confident person and then have this situation or context that triggers a like, oh gosh, I don't know if I should, and question ourselves. So I like to think of like literally breaking down those big terms and just like microscopically when we're stuck on something. Which brings me to my second point. In my world, I call this speaker's kryptonite. And speaker's kryptonite could show up as a people pleaser type thing. It could show up as I don't want to look stupid. It could show up as I'm not sure if this is going to work, or I need to plan more. I need to take more courses. I need to blah, 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 blah. And all of it is keeping us safe, back to Sharon's comfort zone. It's like, yeah, because it's a little scary speaking in front of public audience if you've never done it before. So your system is like shutting it down, like drawbridge coming up, moats full of crocodiles. It's like protecting you. And it's going to pull anything that it needs to keep you safe and cozy in the castle. And then the third thing was like, I think because you asked about like what causes that people pleasing, right? And I'm so amongst amazing experts, you all know this, but just for our conversation, our audience here, what really helped me when I coaching my clients is honing down to, was it a single event that happened that kind of shut you down as a kid? Like usually it's because of something from our childhood. Like, was it something that traumatic that really happened and you're like, okay, I'm never doing that again? Or was it like just a constant drip? Like, this is how we did it in our house. This is what the message was. And like, so you just constantly got used to believing that or doing that or having that habit. So we try to like narrow down, like, where did this thing start if we can? And then we can reverse engineer it. Like, okay, now we know what we're dealing with. Let's talk present. Let's talk future. So
yeah,
that was my thought on that.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, the safety, our system, everything that happens in our system is about keeping us safe. And being in our comfort zone, like you said, is often the safe zone. So, and it's also the place where and if people love being in their comfort zone, that's fantastic. It doesn't necessarily allow you to grow and change because the neural pathways stay the same. That you take we take the same seat on the bus to work. We walk the same direction every day. We eat the same foods because we know that that's our comfort zone. We talk to the same types of people. The list goes on. So often it's about how to, especially when we get this ton of bricks on us. Oh, does that mean that everything I've done up until now, I might have to change something to move forward and get out of that? What does that feel like getting out of my comfort zone? It can be really scary. And it's and I love that you talked, Leisa, about the different windows, because someone could be really confident at work, yet ask them to stand up in front of a group of people and talk and they'll just go, or ask them to do something else, or they might be confident at work but not confident in love, or different windows in their life, not confident in the financial window, not confident in the sexual window, not confident in the relationships window. So it is about because we're very complex humans. So the work really is about sifting through all that, finding that point in time, like you said, where we've taken on board a false truth for ourselves, and this is how we have to do life, and then changing it so we can grow and change and come back to more of being ourselves. There's so much to unpack in this.
Can I add to that?
Yeah,
because I think that's how we've taught. For me, the way I look at it is, this is how love is taught to me. Love is taught for me to be unconfident or confident, depending on what's been handed to me. And, as children, we are such sponges that we take on everything. Like, I watch my grandchildren with her mum and her father, and she is just the playing out how they're actually playing out, but as a little child, and not really understanding what she's doing. But this is how it is. This is how I receive love. So this is how I give love, whether it's hurtful, whether it's harmful, but that's what I know love to be. So I'm going to act on that. So if I'm feeling unworthy, I will attract everything in my life that comes with that package. Or if I'm feeling confident, I will attract confidence into my life, because that's what's been presented to me at the beginning. And it is the unraveling as we age, get older, and we start thinking for ourselves. But if I've never been allowed to think for myself, because that's what love is, I just do what everybody else tells me to do. That's how I'm going to live. And unfortunately, and it's so sad, some people never get out of that, because they don't know how to, because if they break that, no one will love them. Because love comes in many forms. Love is just not gentle and kind, because that's not how it was presented to them. So it is like Leisa says, is going back to that core and finding out, well, I wasn't allowed that lolly. That's what I really wanted. Wasn't I good enough? It's as simple as that. I didn't feel as though I was worthy to have that lolly. So I take that unworthiness and I carry that with me, that I can't have sweet things in my life. And until I recognize that, and the tip is to, like you said, have those tips is, what do I do? Well, I've got to ask myself the questions. Where does that come from for me? Where does that thought originate? Where did that feeling originate? Where did the unworthiness originate from? Or where did the confidence come from? Because, they're the good things as well. That paying attention and asking ourselves constantly, because we're so great at asking our friend, our neighbor, everybody else how they're going, how can I help you? But we're not asking ourselves, because we weren't taught to ask ourselves, how can I help myself? How can I truly love myself? And the biggest one is, what does love look like for me? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? Because that's where I need to build from.
Yeah, beautiful. I think we're all on the same page about that. It's about, one of the biggest messages in moving from not being able to be yourself to being yourself is this inner reflection. Let's have a look at, start, if you don't like where you are right now in terms of living authentically, then there's a time for reflection now, and to actually give yourself some space to look on your life. And I think the other big message is that, number one, you can give yourself permission to do that. You don't need it from anyone else. You actually have, it's your birthright to be living in your authentic self, whatever that looks like for us and for you, and to allow yourself to really give yourself permission to take some time and do that. And the other one is that everything that's happened up until now is not right or wrong. It's just your life's journey, and it all happens for a reason. So there's no point in fact, you move away from self-love when you start beating yourself up for the decisions you've made in the past. So it's really important that we, at this moment in time, if you're listening to this and feel some resonance with it, is to just start to take stock, start asking questions about your life, and give yourself permission to move into your authentic life, and know that up until now you haven't done anything wrong. It's just been a journey for you. Yeah. Does anyone want to add anything just before we do the last 10 minutes, Sharon?
Yes, I typed it in the chat, but I know Denise just talked about, where you ask, where does that come from? Where does that thought come from that I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, or anything like that? And then when you really reflect on that statement, that is I'm not worthy or I'm not enough, when you really reflect on it, then you ask yourself, is it true? And the reality is, no, it's not true. Because again, I'm going to go back to that spiritual side of us. You are spiritually connected to that power that breeds you. You are absolutely abundant. You are everything. You are beautiful just the way you are. So when you go back to that statement, that is disempowering, that is making you feel small, and you believe it to act and be small, ask, is it true? And the answer is always going to be no, because you are a vibrant, beautiful being. So just wanted to add that.
And and there are people who I mean, we know that to be true, yet there are people who can't see that, like Leisa said, when she was in that moment, and she couldn't actually take on board that she did have wants and desires. So it's really allowing yourself to sit in, is that, well, what is it that is stopping me from believing that this isn't true, or this could be something different, and really moving back. Because, in our lifetime, our life actually starts when we're in the womb. And sometimes I work with people who honestly can say they have no recollection of life being any different. And often it comes back to a womb memory. It's really quite interesting, because we start recording things when we're in as a fetus in the womb, and we get the messages from mum through the amniotic fluid and the placenta and the umbilical cord. So we start taking on board these things even when we're that small. Interesting. Yeah.
Very.
Anyone else like to pipe in?
When you had originally asked what, tools or things do we use to help us with this, and I was just going to say, a lot of you probably already do this too, but I do the breath work, and that just is so liberating. It because you got to get out of your mind, because that's where the tape is playing about the people pleasing and the self-worthiness. And so for me, when I do a breath work session, like, I get out of my head and I just feel the real me, not the thoughts. So
And conscious breathing is my jam. And you're right, Catherine, you get into, there's lots of different types of breath work, and you get into that space of just sitting and taking a few breaths. Just take a breath, everyone. Give yourself some space. Breath work creates space, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and there's lots of other ways as well. Meditation, often people can't say they can't sit for long enough in meditation, but there's other types of meditation. There's walking meditation. You could be meditating while you're vacuuming if you wanted to. Meditation is really coming back to being mindfulness and getting out of your head and just allowing yourself to be in the moment. Yeah. Does anyone else have any tips? Yeah, Sharon.
Just a quick tool. I like to coach my clients and just saying it all starts with awareness. So you can always start with notice what you're noticing. Just kind of like you're noticing right now, you're sitting on a chair and you can notice that the chair is pushing up against you. You can notice that your hands are touching the journal or the table. You can actually notice your thoughts. You can notice your thoughts, noticing your thoughts. I mean, it's kind of like metacognition. So once you can actually notice what you're noticing and noticing your thoughts, and you're saying, oh, wait, that thought is the thought that's disempowering. That's a thought that is making me feel small. Then you can shine the light of awareness on it. And once you shine the light of awareness on it, then you can start to repattern it, saying, no, that's not true. And then you start moving and shifting to the empowering thoughts. And sometimes it takes time when you're repatterning and you're rewiring your brain, because I like to say it's called like whack-a-mole. Every time those thoughts come in, I whack it and then I do an empowering thought on top, right on the heels of that one. And when you're in that process of repatterning, it can be like you're saying those statements on the heels of each other, maybe 10 times in the span of a minute, because it just keeps coming back until you start to repattern it. But if you just keep going and you just keep reminding yourself that, you are not what that statement is saying, that you are small, you are not that, and you just keep going to your empowering statement, it'll eventually become your dominant thought. So start with notice what you're noticing.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And you're right. Awareness is the key. It's the waking up, isn't it? Yeah.
I'd love to. And for me is feeling, when we're being aware and we're noticing all these things, and awareness is the key. But it's also allowing yourself to feel that emotion, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whether it's grief. And it's not beating yourself up about those. It's about holding yourself in a space of gentleness, care, love, as you would a child, as you would somebody, your greatest friend, as you would your partner. It's holding yourself in that love and care and kindness to be able to feel through. And it's not an overnight. It might take you a couple of days to go through it. Allow yourself that kindness that we would give everybody else. Allow yourself that kindness and hold yourself in that gentleness and be aware of what's coming up, because if you're aware, you're feeling.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and it's taking us from here to here.
To heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting in your heart. Yeah, and that's where we should be. Our heart to our head.
Yeah.
Heart to our head. Yeah.
So my tip would be, or my tool would be, allow yourself to be completely honest with yourself. Change comes when we there's this self-confession going on. Oh, is it possible that I am a people pleaser? Is it possible? Yeah, radical honesty. Is it possible that, what is my part that I've played in the way I got here, in the steps that led to me getting here? And, I've been hit by a ton of bricks and I'm really out of sorts and I'm not myself. Really being honest with that, because once you take ownership of that, then it's empowering. You can make the choices. You're not giving the choices or being led by anyone else. You're getting led from within you, and you can be completely honest with yourself. Yeah. Just one more. Catherine, did you have anything, a tool? I think, you had the breath work. Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to? Leisa?
I would just add, I think when we're aware of our influences, whether it's astrology, numerology, we really see why we are the way we are, our patterns, and there's always tools to change it. But sometimes it's validating to say, oh yeah, I see it's a lesson in my chart. and I understand, why I have this. And it's now my lesson to overcome it. So when people see it in a chart, it's like, oh yeah, I'm not crazy. I see, So that's another tool I use, I guess, is these different self-awareness tools that show, where are your lessons, your weak points. And just that is kind of comforting in a strange way, because you realize, oh yeah, it is written in my life plan to overcome this. So anyway.
Yeah, and you're right, and it does validate your life, and it sort of plays into that you don't need to beat yourself up for all the decisions you've made up until now, because it's actually part of the plan, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Thanks. Finally, Leisa. Yeah. Did you have any tools?
So many. I think sometimes we just take ourselves a little too seriously, gosh darn it. And we need to remember, come back to center. No one's going to die on our watch. Like it's going to be okay. And keep moving forward with
Beautiful.
intention.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for you beautiful women with all your wisdom, for creating a rich discussion around this topic. There's heaps more we could talk about. I know we could go down rabbit holes and all sorts of things, but I'd like to invite Sophia back on now to wrap up for us.
Thank you, Jennylee, and what a wonderful conversation. I have been sitting here just listening in the background to all your amazing tips and techniques from all these incredible women from all over the world. So I'd just like to take a moment just to honor everyone and thank everyone for sharing your wisdom for the last hour on how we can really be authentically ourselves. Truly, truly, truly amazing. And for everyone who is watching, do click on the links that will be or are being put in the comments now, and also will be put in later for anyone who's watching the recording. And while you're there, check us out, sacredyou.love. We've got many things happening. Jennylee is coming back sometime very soon, and your wisdom circles will be back in February. Looking forward to that. We're having one month's break because it's the new year, but we've got so much else. Check it all out at sacredyou.love and come and join us for everything that we have to offer. So thank you ever so much, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Don't run away, and let me just stop the thing.